Welcome back, everybody. We're here on page 18 in part 6, getting to the end of our fight scene. Um, I've just opened the program, so I've got to favorite my settings in the render pane, because for some reason it won't save favorites when you save the file. And I just sort of like having these two separate. One is the size of the viewport. I think, like I said, I usually render 1920 by 1080. And then, the other one is if I do like a full width at a full width pane, I'll use this one. Oh, excuse me. It's like one of those days, I think. But this picture is going to be 19. And then, so I usually just use dimension preset to quickly change the size of the panes. And the thing to watch out for is that um, these 16:9 settings, there's settings for specific pixel size. If you select any of the other ratios, they're not selected for pixel size. So you've got to, so let's do square 1, 1. So here's pixel size. You've got to make sure that it's the pixel size that you want. If I want 1920 by 1920, then it's fine. If I want, like, say, a pixel size of 1024, then you just got to change it. But it usually, when you select any of the ratio sizes that sort of aren't fixed to a pixel size like the 16:9 settings are, it'll usually set the ratio best based on what you were working with. So it's if I go to, what is it, Academy? No, this isn't Academy. I don't want Academy. I want anthropomorphics. Here we go. 2.35 to 1 for a wide shot. I usually make sure I'm in a 1920 by 1080, so that when I go to Academy Flat, it'll adjust the pixel size to fit that I'm sort of comfortable working with here. Occasionally, I think what I've been finding in probably the last few books is that when I do a larger image on the page, like here we go. Here's on page 12. I did it's an image that's 2/3 of the size of the page, or I'm trying to think. Here we go, page 4, where I've got half page images. Even though the pictures are larger than what I need them to be, and I scale them down, you still sort of get you see some like rather unsmooth pixelization that shows up in these when I do the larger images. So if I'm going to do a half page, what I've been doing lately is, instead of the 1920 by 1080, I've been doubling that and using Ultra HD 3840 by 2160. And for some reason, even though I scale it down to the same size, the edges are a lot smoother than they would be in a 1920. But it's sort of with the smaller images, it doesn't really, the that lack of smoothness, that problem, I guess, doesn't really show up that much. Isn't really an issue when I'm using with the smaller pictures that are only 1/3 of the size. So like what I got to be careful of is if I do a half page image and I'm using 3840 at 2160, and then if I come into the next page and my next image is a full width, 1/3 height, and then I come in, select, oh, where am I here, and go and select this for the top of the next page. You can see it's like pixel size is 3840 by 1634 instead of the 1920. And I end up rendering a picture larger than I need. So that's a primer in that's a primer in what goes into um, my picture size, whatever you want to call it. I need a name for this image, so let's see what's next. I'm going to come in here to book 6 where all my pictures are, and the last one was 12104, so we need 12105. 105, and we will render that. And I will come over and how about this one? And wait for it. Come on. Come on. Give me the. It's like the whole system is tied up while waiting for the picture to start rendering. So let's go edit, and hopefully this. Yes, there we go. Oops, caps lock. That's my girl. And let's take this back. And we'll just do that. And one thing about this warehouse is that I think it's depending on what's in the image, where it can either take 10 minutes to render a picture or I can get it in just a few minutes. Sort of, there's a lot of things that determine uh, that go into that sort of factor into render time, the time it takes to render the images. I've probably mentioned it. It's things like reflections will slow it down because it's got to calculate parts of the image that otherwise wouldn't be in the image. It's basically got to calculate um, elements of the set that aren't in the particular image because they're in the reflection. Paste as new layer. It's like if you have like the higher quality the textures on your models are, um, that they can end up slowing down the render. Um, the polygon counts of the models can end up affecting render time. So if you've got a lot of polygons in in a scene, you can end up slowing it down. Whereas if you've um, let's save as, like I said, this is going to be page 18. Whereas if you've got some very poly heavy objects, they can slow down a scene. Oh, see, I've already got this one. 2.5 minutes. So let's go. Let's pop this one in here. Scale. Every time I shut down programs and then come back, I've got to reset all my settings because it won't save because these programs won't save the settings. They'll only remember the settings in a session. You know what? I'm going to cut it wide. So I'll show you what I mean by polys in a second. So if I come up to this little round thing here, um, this is this um, this is the display in the viewport. This isn't necessary. This isn't how it's going to render. This is how you're going to visualize it. So you normally play with texture shaded to get an idea of what it looks like, although it's not going to be quite the same. Though it's not going to be the same as the render, but it's going to be the closest. So if you go smooth shaded, all the textures go off. You get the without the textures. If you go over to, let's say, lit, did I do wireframe? What's the difference between wireframe and lit wireframe? Oh, okay. I guess this will show you all the polygons. So if you look at the shirt, you can see all the squares. Those are the polygons of the model. Um, if you look at Rusty himself, like his face looks solid because there are so many polygons in the face that all the wires mesh together into what looks like a solid. See, if you zoom in, you can see the polygons. The people are somewhat high polygon objects. So the people tend to slow down um, more than some of these static objects you see in the background. And you see this big thing in the background. That's the sky dome, where the sky and the clouds are pasted to. See, I can take that off and show you. If I go into, I think it's buildings. Let's close that. This is outdoor sky sphere. So you got the sky sphere. If I turn that off, then that goes away. See? And then the only thing you have in the background is the building itself. So you see, like, Rusty has a lot of polygons to him. And then there's this ground outside. If we zoom in, see, it's like you've got all this grass. And then you see like these are the shelves. So the top and the bottom of the shelves are all one polygon to keep the I can show you. Let's go tool geometry editor. Um, oh, I have to be on that warehouse junk. Okay, come on. Select 4-tier shelf. So I got geometry editor. You can see now it's going to select the polygon. I click on that's one polygon right there. Here's one polygon. And then you sort of see at the edges, you have these smaller polygons to simulate sort of rounded edges, so it's not so sharp. Uh, so like these shelves, are something that I kind of I created myself specifically for this set. And like when I try and do my own models, I'll try and make everything as low poly as possible in order to kind of keep these scenes from being heavy. So let's see, being resource heavy. If I let's go, let's show you the. I know this video just kind of went off on a tangent that you probably never expected, but um, what am I looking at? Structure. If I go structure and the warehouse. So if I select the warehouse, let's just focus on the warehouse for a moment. See, there's my warehouse. Come on. Let's to make this easier. Let's see if we can take off furniture. I'm just gonna blank out the furniture for a minute. So that's the warehouse in poly. Those are you can see the polys that went into that. As you can see, there's not a lot of polygons. So these roof segments are one polygon. So click on that. Maybe they're one polygon. So these side walls are 2 polygons, or not. Oh no, I think it's the inside wall is 2 polygons. The outside is 1. So these buildings are large models, but they're not very polygon heavy. So look at that one, and then you cut across. You cut across the street. Sometimes the models, that you find for sale, they'll sort of load a lot of polygon. They'll sort of make them a little more polygon heavy than they need to be, at least for my purpose. But so now that I've taken you on that tangent, let's kind of get back to work here. I'm going to put this back on texture shaded because the program has a harder time processing it when it's on wireframe instead of texture. So I need to put back in furniture. And let's see, outdoor. I gotta put the sky back on. And I want to make building unselectable so that I don't have so that it doesn't get annoying. And let's get off geometry editor. We'll select Deanna. Oh, that's right. And I popped Tamara into this folder because she was in the way on that shot of Rusty. So we gotta take her out. And we're gonna pose her. Make it look like she's running. Oops. What ends up happening there is you see that happening frequently. It's what you can do is instead of using the sliders or the little whatever you call this thing, like I can just grab her arm and pull it if I wanted to. You could try and pose her this way. Ah, my hand is behind my back. Leave me alone. Let's undo that. So what it does is every now and then, when I click on an object, when I click on a body part to select it, for some reason the program treats it as if I selected and pulled it. Or I don't know if it just lags, if the process just lags so that I click on a body part and then pull the cursor away to come over here, if it just doesn't register when I release the mouse button and treats it as if I'm pulling the part while I'm coming over here. It's just like the program sometimes is slow to react, and that's what ends up happening is sort of it still thinks I've got a body part after I've already released the mouse button. But what I'm going to do is we're going to move her over here because I got these pallets of barrels, and these barrels, as you've probably already noticed, these barrels are awful fun. I I have a lot of fun with these barrels for some reason. So there's always been this intention, and I just have never gotten to it yet, that like these barrels are just going to end up all coming off the shelf all at once for some reason, whether somebody gets thrown into them or the shelf gets pulled down. The idea is it's just going to be a big mess, and I want to head toward it. And since he is apparently going to be in the shot, let's move him a little bit so that it looks like he's kind of. Whoops, there it goes. See, it just did it again. Ugh. So I think too is this story is it's starting to wind down now. In my head, I'm kind of fine tuning what the denouement of this story is going to be. Sort of fine tuning the details in my head, and I think it's what I'm looking at is what is that? I don't want that. So I'm looking at three more pages of fight scene here, pages 18, 19, and 20, and then I'm expecting 4 pages of denouement. Hmm, I don't know. Can I just? I don't know. Yeah, I guess that's better than three. So because I've got 4 characters, so to speak, sort of 4 people who kind of need to be tied up. Who, well, not they don't need to be tied up. Their kind of their threads need to be tied up. They're sort of 4 characters to wind down. Ah, shoot! That I thought that was straight. See, even when you eyeball it, it doesn't always work. So let's try that again. Merge down. I want you there. Okay, and I haven't made a layer yet, so let's go layer to layer. Ah, da, 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 da. Okay, oh wow, see, so this one's only 3.5 minutes. Okay. Yeah, that looks good. Let's cut that there. Edit. Cut. Select none. Select invert. Let's see. one thing, working on the previous page, hmm, excuse me again. This was sort of one of those. It was sort of one of those moments where, like, you get an idea you want to do visually, and you're not sure in like today's times if it might be sort of sending the wrong message. So you know, so it's like I'm kind of referring to the chokehold back there, and it's kind of the problem I have is that I've revealed that basically she's law enforcement, she's FBI. Shoot, this is gonna be so it. Oh, it almost like, I mean, not almost, but it ends up sort of fitting in with everything that's going on now. And it's like visually a scene I want to do, but let's see. Oh, I'm not sure this is gonna do what I want it to do. It's one of those things where it's like you'd like to do the picture, but you don't know if it's really insensitive. So you kind of like, I don't really mean it to be insensitive. It's just here we go again. I think it's like, given we probably already crossed those lines with this being a fight scene anyway. It's probably like kind of too late to ask those questions. And it's sort of at the risk of this being another video I delete because I go into territory that I really don't want to. Um, I'm going to kind of stay away from commenting on the situation that's going on right now because it just feels almost insincere on my part. It's, it's sort of like, on one hand, I've got views that are kind of in a gray area, and that's probably not what people want to hear right now. Um, but at the same time, it almost feels like, what am I going to do with her head? it just sort of seems almost empty, kind of commenting on something that doesn't affect me and that sort of thing. But where was I going? Let's go 7. I'm still on our head, right? I think going back to where I was starting, it's the idea is, you have this debate over whether or not we as a society have gotten too PC, or if we need to be PC, politically correct. And I mean, that's probably, and I guess that's one debate, but it's sort of, let's see, but it's regardless on which side of the coin you stand, which side of the issue you stand, whether you think we're too PC or not enough PC. It's, for those sort of creating products, or like me writing a story for a market, whether or not you believe it or not, you want to be you want to be mindful of it, and you really don't want to turn away, like in my case, potential readers. If you're running a store, for example, you don't want to turn away customers with sort of an opinion or a thought that makes the customers unhappy, or like, PC, not opinions, but you really don't want to be referring to people in terms that make your customers uncomfortable, that sort of thing. So it's like the one thing that's gotten me kind of like on the fence with that chokehold there is it's like kind of another piece of the fight here, but I don't know if it's gonna, it kind of makes me nervous that it could end up being that one panel could end up being a turnoff, but um, I'm gonna hold on. But it's sort of at the end of the day too. Sometimes throwing in a bit of controversy like that um, ends up serving as sort of a vehicle to discuss sort of complicated issues too. Let's go to perspective because I need to see what his foot is doing. Even though I'm being foolish here because I know he's going to get cut off, so sometimes, yeah. Well, sometimes I think a lot of times, fiction serves to sort of get the discussions going. You know, so what is it? So Mark Twain's story, I think, is The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn or whatever it's called. It's the idea is that there's some that that the story has an underlying racism to it, and yet in today's time, we sort of instead of like discarding the book altogether, we use it as a vehicle to um, sort of discuss those issues and sort of discuss how things were treated in different times, how things were in the past versus how they are now. And I think too, at this point in the story, even though this whole project started out before like this current round of um, unrest, I think we kind of like crossed some of these lines already. So I might as well just go all in. Hmm. But yeah, I'm looking at here. So page 18, 19, and 20, three more pages of fight scene. And then 21, 2, 3, and 4 will be the tie up. And I think going that way, I think even then each character is not going to get a full page because I'm expecting like a full page wrap up here in the warehouse. I need a full page where I think Kendall sort of finishes her explanation of what's going on with these two. I think she needs to sort of fill in the last blanks in regards to these two women and their plan, and sort of shifting off that topic and going back to an older topic, talking about reflections. So if you look at the shelves, you can see the barrels reflecting because on each of these shelves there's a degree of reflectivity to try and simulate the metal, and it's probably a little the reflectivity probably should be less than it is because this is a little bit much, but you can see um, the reflections in the metal on the shelves. So you got a barrel here, you can see a section of the wall here. There's something here. You can see in these pylons that there's a little bit of reflection, and the render image has to sort of process this barrel, which isn't even on screen. Well, no, yes, it is on screen. There it is. Let's see, so there's yeah, see you got more wall up here. I don't think you can make it out, but there's something about the texture here that I think is part of the reflectivity. Yeah, there's something reflecting there, but which is probably looking back, this is probably a little too much since these are supposed to be sort of dull metal. But me personally, I think, okay, yeah, I do see him. Let's put Rusty in the background there. It's gonna come up. Okay, let's put this back on you. Let's twist her. And then she's going to come. This is the z-axis, right? No. Oh, no. X. Keep getting these mixed up. So we're going to pull her back to get her out of the way of the shelf. She's going to twist some more. So now let's find the shelf. This is going to be a mess because normally I sort of group. Normally when I create a set, I group things a little more logically than I did here. But here in the warehouse, all this junk is just lumped into one group. Warehouse junk. You can see it's all. There's just no. So I think. Yeah, you know what I'm going to do? Let's make everything in the building selectable so I can just find this easily. And then we will unparent. There we go. Unparent. Unparent. I need that one behind it. Can I? Probably not. Unparent. Then this palette. We go unparent. And this box is going to be unparent. And let's unparent you. Unparent. Okay, so now I can deselect. And I think what I'm going to do is let's take all this stuff. And instead I'm going to parent it to the shelf. So now, go wee. There we go. Um, this way. It's actually kind of funny. Like the she didn't see this coming a mile away category. Uh, right hand. For some reason, the hand looked like it was poking through the barrel from where I'm sitting. No, let's make that 0. It actually, yeah, I'm not gonna see her. I don't know why I wasted my time posting her. Posing. Yeah. Okay, so. Oops. Let's see. For this one. Let's see. Bring the palette out. And then I think these are gonna be moved a little bit. Let's bend the arm up a little bit. Okay, and let's see. Start collapsing. What I need to do is get rid of these shelves here. Is that this one? Yeah, okay, so we get rid of that one. You know what? Let's put her more in danger. There we go. And let's collapse all. So, I think what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna get artsy here. So, turn all these off. And then I need to put Tamara into this folder. And we're gonna go 108A. I'm gonna render each of these objects on its own. While we're there, we're gonna go whoops, size. No. And we'll save that file. Save. Oh, yay. Hmm. And at this point, I think at this point in the story, I'm not sure if there's going to be another video. Being sort of 6 more pages after this one to the end. Um, it's probably at this point, I'm only going to make another video if sort of I just sort of feel like free flowing with with my thoughts, like I do a lot of times. But this could be the last video for the Iron Brotherhood series. And if it is, I sort of hope you enjoyed this. And I'll see you next time. Whatever it is. Like I said, I'm looking forward. I kind of want to. I kind of want to do a series modeling the house where I show you like actual modeling the house for let's see, camera file unparent for burn pit. Nah, you. So I'm not sure if that's going to have, if that's going to have the appeal that these videos do. Because it's sort of the intent there will be sort of to hopefully any of you, anyone who's like hasn't considered modeling but would like to kind of see how easy it is to get started as a beginner. Let's put her back in there now. Oh shoot. You know what? This is driving me nuts. Let's park her because I see that hand. Even though that hand won't end up in a scene, I'm still not sure about it. Okay. Let's see. So I'm gonna finish rendering these. I'll take a quick break. I'll take a break here. I'll come back when I've got all these layers rendered. Here are the layers. That little mini break kind of gave me a little bit of time to think about this, and I figured that it probably wasn't going to do any good rendering each of the barrels separately when it was just going to look the same anyway. So I rendered the palette and the barrels as one layer. So I don't think it's going to look any different if I had done each barrel separately and blurred each barrel differently. And so I'm going to start with the shelf, and I'm going to go with a zoom motion blur. I take, no, not that thing, this thing, and we're going to bring it down to the bottom. And I want it just subtle. Actually, maybe go up a little bit. So the idea is that, this thing is pivoting on the corner, the top is going to be moving faster than the bottom. So I get that one. Let's take, oops, okay on that. I got the pallets. This is going to be a linear motion. And we're going to bring it down that way, right? 145. We'll just leave it at 10. Okay. And now the crate. Actually, yeah, let's go 145. I think this one's going to be a little. We'll cut this one down because it's not going to be moving quite as fast. So we'll put the blur at half. So there. And I think she looks just a little too sharp in this picture. So I'm going to take blur and go Gaussian at 0.5. Okay. I think let's go edit. Undo. It doesn't look any different. How about, whoops, how about 0.75? Looks a little better, I think. Softens her up a little bit. Okay, so file. Export as, we'll just take off the letter. Let's go file. Open as layers. You, not you. Undo, open as layers. You're the one I want. Scale 34. Half. This is the middle. Yeah, that's good. Yay. Okay. Let's go edit, cut, edit, paste as new layer. Let's see, invert, shrink, cut. There's my layer, merge down. Okay, now this one's going to take a little bit of work. Building. Let's unparent this one. The idea is by the time the shelf hits the ground, some of these barrels will have already bounced away. Then you've got like this crate is going to stay pretty much between the two shelves when this thing is on the ground, and the pallet's probably going to be leaning against the top shelf. You'll see what I mean. But this canister, I think we go 90. Let's Control D. We'll bring that to the ground. Zero those out to make it easy. So this one would like bounce and come over here. this. Actually, let's make it easy at 180. And then I think this, yeah, that's good. And then we'll put you over here. Actually, probably like more over there. And then we're going to do this one, 0, 0, 90. Oops, unparent. Shoot. Control D. Spin this. Come on, grab it. Where is you? This is the Z-axis, right? Let's see, this one too. Unparent, 90, 0, 0. Control D to bring that one to the floor. Let's do this. Okay, so now we're going to take you 90 degrees. We'll take you all the way down. We will go Control D to bring you to the... Oh, shoot. Okay, never mind. Hold on. There we go. It's actually kind of convenient. It fell around that barrel. I was going to kick that barrel out as if it got knocked. Let's see. Unpage. Okay. So now what I meant is that this is going to go like that. And we'll end up falling against that. There we go. So that's what that'll end up looking like. And then this crate, we will unparent that. And it's going to be Control D. It's probably going to be there. Let's spin it a little so it doesn't look like it's... And then I'm going to Control D just to make sure that's on the floor. So that's what that shelf will end up looking like. You know, we've got a... Oh, shoot. This barrel is not on the floor. There we go. Okay, there we go. Yay, that does it. So let's grab all of these and the shelf. And I'm going to dump them back into, not structure, furniture. Warehouse junk. ever. Oh, shoot. Shoot, 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 shoot. I sat and rearranged all those barrels and forgot that there is, let's see. Where is it? There it is. Forgot I've got a group of shelves that are um, here. So all these barrels have to be moved again. This is that one, right? Okay. So let's put this one back in its group. There we go. Actually, you know what? This is an interesting. Z. This is. I'm gonna send this one over here. Actually, that one's good there. Nah. Send you there. You can go there. This one's actually interesting. I'm actually going to imagine that this one bounced onto the shelves. It went over here, so. Where is it? Z, so we can go over there. So that works. Now I'm just going to make sure it's. Okay. Okay, that works. Let's take Tamara and D out. Zoom in on D. Something like this. You know, and that little break gave me time to think. I was kind of going on about this chokehold. You know, that whole spiel gave me a really good idea of what to do with this. Where to go with it. I think, I actually think what I have in mind for the next page will be really satisfying in regards to that. Let's see, eyes. Which way? The eyes are already looking that way. Shoot. I was going to try and simulate like the elbow into her side, but it's not going to translate on the page. So we'll just have to try something else. Um, how do I do this? I think what I'm going to do, let's see, is parent her. Where is she? Let's take Kendall and parent her to chest. This way it'll bring Kendall part of the way on the journey. Oops, you. Nine. And I'm going to unparent Kendall. Need her parented. And let's see if the smoothing modifier will fix the poke through here on the pants and the tunic, or if I've got to just do this manually. 5. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna have to do this. So what we do is, let's see, the shins, show hidden. This is the right thighs. Actually, hold on a second. What if... No. Okay, so with the tunic, let's try... Right? Hmm. That is the right thigh, right? Okay, that might do it. Okay, so okay, so this is 109. Sort of the idea is we finish the page without like seeing what happened to her. It's sort of you see I mean Tamara. You see sort of like Tamara in trouble, and then we finish off the page showing her sort of getting out of this chokehold. And let's see if these poke through issues are done. Great. Thanks for switching layers on me without switching windows on me without me telling you to. Okay, so that solved the poke through. The if it didn't, what I was going to do was render a second version of the picture with her blanked out, but the clothing left in place, and then just on that image cut out portions that overlap the poke through, and then just paste them over, and you wouldn't be able to tell. So save that. And let's bring that one in. Layer scale to 34. From that, edit. We'll cut that one and done, and that fits. Oh, you'll have to forgive me for a second. Layered image size. I ended up trying to slip a drink between comments before cutting when I cut away, and it ended up going down the wrong pipe. So I've still got edit cut. So it's like I got the coughing cleared out, but there's still a little bit of irritation and a little bit of something down there. So, thankfully, I'm at the end of the page here, so I don't have to deal with it that much longer. None. There we go. So let's save that file. Save image, flatten, and export. I want JPEG, not enter. And pages, not the video folder. So here's page 18. That's my girl. Get her, Tam. Isn't anywhere you can go. Anywhere you can hide in here. So keep running. I'll get you. No. Yes. That's page 18. I hope you enjoyed that, and I will see you next time. Whether it's one more video for this story or um, or next time when we're working on Burn Pit.